Thank you, Lynn. Are there any announcements? How about joys and concerns to share?
I have one, Brent. Um, please pray for John and me because John has to take me to Community South in Greenwood Hospital for surgery tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Mm.
And we've got all this snow here. And then for the physicians as they do their work, and for our return home on Tuesday.
Can't hear you, Chip.
I hope you would hold Decatur Township in the light because we've got a big problem. They're trying to force an AI thing in the middle of Canby, and the people of Decatur don't want it. Our councilman isn't supporting us. He's going along with the AI center, and we just, I just feel like we're fighting an uphill battle, and it just will not do anything but give Decatur Township a black eye if this thing goes through. I was in 5 meetings about it last week. So help us.
I understand we have one, 2 houses from us being built currently.
Well, I mentioned my 5 boy cousins. The one next oldest to me, I'm the middle, Mark, who, when we were growing up, was like a brother to me. I didn't have any brothers. Had a stroke recently. And when he got to the ER, they also found he had a blocked artery. So they had to do surgery for that too. So he's now in rehab. He seems to be doing much better, but we are of that generation now, and and it's hard to think of that. So if he would, and Mark and his wife Marcia have had a kind of rough life in some ways. Their oldest daughter, their daughter was killed in a car crash at 16, and then their son committed suicide, and he had 2 children, and they are raising those children now. So they're good people, and if you could remember Mark and Marcia. Well, there's much to lift to God in prayer today, both joys and concerns. I'm looking out at all this snow falling, and everything looks so nice and peaceful. I see the turmoil in this world, and I was remembering a George Fox quote today about, I saw an ocean of darkness and death, but I saw it covered by the ocean of love and life. May that be so for all of us and for our world. Chip's our worship leader this morning, and he'll speak out of the silence as he feels led.
First, I want to say my message was much more powerful before my editor got a hold of it and told me it was not politically correct. So he took out 3 pages. And I've rewritten my message about 3 times because things are changing in the world. When I wrote my message, I thought we were going to invade Greenland. Good morning, friends. Thank you, Lynn. The scripture for today comes from Matthew 5:9 from the King James Bible. Blessed art the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. As you can probably tell, my message today is going to be about peace. Lynn just played one of my favorite hymns, and I would like to read the lyrics to you. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, my country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts and other lands are beating, with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunshine too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine. If you have seen any news shows lately, I try to limit all mine. You know a bunch of craziness is going on. When I saw a 5-year-old in his bunny hat being taken away, it made me want to run outside and yell at God and quote him a line from the film Network. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, as most of you know, I talk to God every morning in my living room where he sits on my sofa, so I don't need to go outside. And he knows how I feel, and he knows I'm not the only one that feels that way. Think about it. It's been just a month ago since Christmas, with all the peace on earth and goodwill toward men. Funny how quickly things change so fast, but I guess that's life. My message today I'm calling, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. My grandson will be turning 18 this year. In my day, that was draft age, and I sure don't want him to be drafted if that's what becomes necessary. So how did I come up with my title? Well, I'll tell you. And I will try not to turn it into an Aunt Betty story. Some of you have met her, others have heard about her, but those who don't, Aunt Betty can turn a short story into a book. At times I feel I have turned into her, as Troy will say to me often, does this story have a point, Aunt Betty? Well, you get the point. I had recorded a film called Show of Shows. It was a Warner Brothers film released in 1929. The film features nearly all the stars under contract with Warner Brothers. Show of Shows features many stars from the silent films as well as stage and novelty acts and was over 2 hours long. It was filmed in black and white with the exception of one color selection called A Chinese Fantasy. Canine performer Rin Tin Tin barks and introduces Nick Lucas singing Lee Poli and Myrna Loy dancing. I just love this number. It was filmed as if it were shot on an actual stage, even though it was shot on a sound stage. Everything just moves, and it just was so amazing, like a Ziegfeld Follies number. Had lots of singers and dancers. Now I fell in love with this number, but I had trouble understanding the lyrics. Well, that wasn't a problem, I thought. I would go on the internet and look up the music and the words. I could not. The lyrics were written by Alfred Bryan and were not available in English, only Chinese. And the music wasn't available at all. Now I'm looking for my song. I found songs that were written by Alfred Bryan. Most I'd never heard of, but I did know of two, Peg in My Heart and Come Josephine in My Flying Machine. In my research, I discovered I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier, and according to Wikipedia, this was an American anti-war song that was influential with the pacifist movement that existed in the United States before it entered World War I, and was one of the first anti-war songs. I would like to read you the lyrics. 10 million soldiers to the war have gone, who may never return again. 10 million mothers' hearts must break for the one who died in vain. Head bowed down in sorrow in her lonely years, I heard the mother murmur through her tears. I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. I brought him up to be my pride and joy. Who dares to place a musket on his shoulder to shoot some other mother's loving boy? Let nations arbitrate their future troubles. It's time to lay the sword and gun away. There'd be no wars today if mothers all would say, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. What victory can cheer a mother's heart when she looks at her blighted home? What victory can bring her back all she cares to call her own? Let each mother answer in the years to be, remember that my boy belongs to me. I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. I brought him up to be my pride and joy. Who dares to place a musket on his shoulder to shoot some other mother's darling boy? Let nations arbitrate their future troubles. It's time to lay the sword and gun away. There'd be no wars today if mothers all would say, I didn't raise my boy to be a soldier. Now, I get lots of things in my news feed. What I have been getting this month is all about the Walk for World Peace. Buddhist monks and their dog are crossing 10 U.S. states as part of their journey. The group will stop at state capitals, historic landmarks, and local communities to share their message and invite moments of reflection. Here is a quote from their website. In a world shaped by conflict and division, the need for peace has never been more urgent. Despite differences in culture, background, and belief, all people share a common aspiration to live in peace for all the well-being of individuals, families, and global community. In a blog posted, Why We Walk, the monks wrote, our walking itself cannot create peace, but when someone encounters us, whether by the roadside, online, or through a friend, when our message touches something deep within them, then it awakens the peace that was always lived quietly in their heart. Something sacred begins to unfold. And this comes from another feed I get called The Quaker. Quakerism was born out of the turmoil of the English Civil War, when it felt the world was turned upside down. Out of the chaotic time came a radical new expression of primitive Christianity. Friends were willing to go to prison, travel across the world as missionaries, strip naked in public, and even lay down their lives for this rediscovery. Wow. Would we as a group do that? Well, as for me, it's going to have to get a lot warmer before I walk around naked in public. Just saying. You have to give early friends credit for doing the things they did when they felt God come to them. But what are friends doing now? As for me, not much. I was willing to go to jail when I protested the Vietnam War, but all I'm doing now is watching the news, making some phone calls, and send emails. Should friends be doing more? Should we join together and do something? That's my question I would like for you to think about when we go into quiet time. Should friends be doing more? But we're not going to quiet time yet. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a lot of untruths being put on the news shows and on my news feeds. So at times I don't know whether it's truth or illusion, and it's hard to tell what the truth is or is it just a outright lie? How do we know the difference? This makes me think of the song from the film Royal Wedding. It's called How Could You Believe Me When I Told You I Loved You When You Know I've Been a Liar All My Life? Now, let me tell you my story of being a supposed terrorist. I'm on the board of Decatur Township Civic Council, and at the time of my encounter, I was chair of the Parks Committee. I would go to meetings with my Parks Department and find problems and goals for Decatur area. I reported back to the council. We were having troubles as a creek that runs through one of our parks was being polluted. Our goal was to find out why. The creek runs through my front yard. It periodically turned neon blue and smelled. I was always pretty sure that the airport was dumping into the creek. So the next time it happened, I drove over there, and right before my eyes was the neon blue stuff coming from one of the airport's holding ponds. I pulled over and got out of my truck and started taking pictures of all of it with my new camera. I got back in my truck, and as I was starting to leave, a police car pulled up behind me with its lights flashing. The officer got out of his car and yelled at me and told me it was against the law to take pictures of airport property. He went back to his car. I got on the phone with my friend Pat Andrews and told her I thought I was getting arrested, and she was going to contact our councilman, and told me not to give the police my camera as I would never get it back. I called my mother to tell her I might not be home for dinner tonight. The officer said he came back to my truck and said, give me my camera. And I said I wasn't going to. He got really mad, said a few things I can't share with you in a meeting. Red-faced, he told me to give me my camera. I said I was sorry he was so upset, but I was not going to give him my camera. He went back to his car. A few minutes later, another police car showed up. Oh dear, I thought he called for backup. The officers talked, and the new officer came up to my truck. This was a man of color, and unlike the first officer, was calm. He said to me to tell him my side of the story. I explained why I was there. He laughed and said, the upset officer said that he was afraid I was taking pictures so that I could come back and blow up their holding pond. He said, just to make him happy, would you delete your pictures that you took here? I said I would. As they drove off, I looked at my camera and realized I had no idea how to delete pictures. Of course, I had to give my report to the council, and after I told them my tale of woes I showed them the picture, of course, everybody burst out laughing. All's well that ends well, but what if it didn't? What if the officer was so upset he shot me? He could have said I tried to run over him. I would be it would be my hope that the mayor and the police chief would not have insisted the statement that in fact I was a terrorist and I should have been shot. Who would have known the truth? We can all do something to help the peace movement. Every person can help, no matter how small, you can make a difference. And here's a quote from the Dalai Lama. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. And from Colossians 3:15, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts. May the light of God surround you. May the love of God enfold you. May the power of God protect you. And may the presence of God watch over you. For wherever you are, God is.
Thank you, Chip and Lynn, for your ministry offerings this morning. We'll now continue with unprogrammed worship for those who can stay, and for those who can't, Godspeed. Stay safe in the coming week.
Thank you, Chip and Lynn.
on Friday, I sent out a letter to the people who are weather observers in a network that I'm a part of, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for our western two counties. And it was a little bit of housekeeping that needed to be done with a few things and observations and equipment and things like that. And normally I don't get a lot of letters back when I send those out. People just go about their business, and you'll see the numbers correct themselves as we go through the weeks ahead with the observations. But on this day, I had a few people write back. Some people said thanks and looking forward to or not looking forward to cold weather and freezing and what have you. Well, one woman in particular, her email back kind of got me. And she's also a volunteer coordinator, but she does it for bay water quality. And she has a monitoring network of people who take bay samples, and they check on water quality on a continual basis and regular basis at that. And she said her thanks and everything. And she said, I've tried to get people to through our newsletter and emails join your network, and no observers have come on board. And she says, I try to get more people to come on my network as well. And she said there aren't really a lot of people who want to do observations. But she said what they do want to do is get on Facebook and just gripe about everything and argue about it. And that kind of struck me that, and especially in light of Chip's message here today, that even before Chip's message, that we so often just talk about things in our society and gripe about things, worry about things. But it takes some, you got to wear out your shoes a little bit sometimes, and you got to get your hands busy and dirty and go about things in the appropriate way. Our science stuff that we do, both for bay quality and weather, is to the 1/100th of an inch on my end of the stick, and I don't know what it is on her end of the stick with the water quality, probably biological oxygen demand and other things. But it takes detail, it takes precision, it takes planning, it takes effort. And we are really faced with some big questions in this country right now and in our society. And it's going to take a lot more deeper involvement by many, many people to begin to hold fast and to push back on the sad things that are going on right now in a very different country from what our grandfathers had in their day and our grandparents.
If friends' hearts are clear, we can close the meeting for worship today.
Thank you, Chip. That was a very powerful message.
Enjoy that, Chip. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip, and also thank you, Lynn and Larry. That was all very beautiful together.
Have a great week. Y'all keep warm. We have it very lucky here, and y'all are in the
Dick
ice
just-
box.